Good evening and welcome to everyone who's joined us today for this online engagement session. My name is Wesley Ford and I'm a Community Services Officer for Newport City Homes. I'll be leading today's session and keeping everything on track. Before we begin, make you all aware, this session is being recorded. The recording will be made available on our website for residents who aren't able to attend today. You will also receive a copy of the recording after today's session, in case you'd like to check any of the information you hear today. Everyone you can see on the screen is on the panel. Before we make a start, can I please ask that you do not put any personal information such as your address or contact numbers into the chat box. This is for data protection purposes. As many of you will know, in February, we held our very first online sessions for residents and leaseholders to come and talk to us about what this will look like. In these sessions, we told you that we're looking at 3 options. This is something that we are going to look at in more detail today. We'd really appreciate it if you could keep yourselves on mute whilst the presentation is taking place. If you do have a question, please use the raise your hand. Please raise your hand and we will invite you to unmute at the appropriate stage. In this session, it's really important that everyone has the opportunity to share their views and provide feedback. In line with the community guidelines, please be respectful and use the appropriate language as this can be seen by other residents today. Next slide, please. Normally, we would want to be out and about in the local community, so you can speak to us face to face. This isn't possible at the moment due to COVID, so we have been trialing a new approach with these online sessions, and you will be able to share your views using the chat box. Next slide, please. Okay, I'd like to introduce you to members of the project team who will be talking to you today. Firstly, I'd like to bring in Rachel.
Hi everyone, my name is Rachel George and I'm the head of regeneration.
Thank you very much, Rachel. I'd like to also introduce you to Pravin.
Hi, I'm Pravin De Silva, Development Manager for Newport City Homes. I'm the project lead.
Thank you very much, Pravin. And also, I would like to introduce you to Simon.
Hi everyone, my name is Simon. I'm an architect with a company called Curler Terrell Head. We've been appointed by Newport City Homes to look at this site.
Thank you very much, Simon. There are also some other members of the project team here today. They're here to listen to your feedback and help and answer any questions which may later come up in this session. Next slide, please. During today's session, our aims are to update you on the survey work we've been carrying out in your area, share the views we have had from you about your home and local area, talk through the options we have developed, ask for your views, answer any questions you have about our work. If you have any questions which aren't answered today, we'll be sharing a feedback survey after the session along with our contact details for you to contact us directly. This session is focused on the work that we've been carrying out in your area over the last few months, and we really want this to be an interactive session. If you have any questions about Newport City Homes that aren't on this project, like questions about specific repairs or specific to your property, we'll share ways in which you can get in contact with us towards the end of the session. I'm now going to hand over to Rachel George.
Okay everyone, hello, good evening. Thanks for giving us your time this evening. It is really strange doing a webinar event. For those of you who do have your cameras on, sometimes your faces pop up and it's really nice to see you. Wes has explained why I'm able to be out and about in our communities at the moment. So it's nice to see your faces. It's a shame that it's over a screen still. Please bear with us during this method of communication and engagement. It may not be the easiest. It will still allow us to have some good conversations about what we've been doing. So if I'm just to start off, the reason that we've been looking at your homes is because at NCA City Homes, we're committed to providing high quality homes for our residents now and in the future. It's something called an easy form construction type, which we think may need investment in the future. As well as the overall quality of our homes, one of our key considerations government targets to meet zero carbon. We've sent out newsletters to you in advance of this session so that you're aware of the work that we've done and the options that we've been looking at. We'll talk in more detail about this. Right at the start, we are not proposing to look at an option for regeneration for demolition and new build in your area. We've looked at the results of the surveys that we've been doing, as well as feedback that we've already had from residents, and we don't think that that's an appropriate approach to be taking in your area. We've looked at some other options, which we'll be talking to you about today. Wesley's already explained that we're really keen to get your views, either through the chat box or through you raising your hand. So we look forward to hearing from you as we go through. I'll now pass you over to my colleague Pravin.
Thanks, Rachel. As we previously mentioned, we have carried out different types of surveys to understand the issues and to help develop our options. The newsletter you receive includes type of surveys we carried out in your area. Based on the survey information, we have identified some key issues, such as the roof deteriorating and would benefit from some repair works. Some cracking has been identified in the internal and external walls of the blocks. Damp has been identified in several properties, so further damp survey has been commissioned. The current energy ratings are either CC or D, which means the thermal performance is mid-low and homes may need a lot of heating. In the last online engagement session back in February, you made us aware that there are mixed feelings about your homes and the local area. Between 60 to 65% of you told us that you're extremely satisfied with your home and the local area. However, 4.5% to 13% of you told us that you're not satisfied at all. We have uploaded your views onto our website. If you'd like to take a look in your own time. Thank you. Over to Simon from CLTH Architects.
Hi there, everyone. And thanks very much, Pravin. And just echoing what Rachel said, thank you very much for giving up your evening and taking this time to hear about the work that we've been up to in your community. So I'm just going to talk you through a snapshot into some of the work that we've been up to over the last month or two. Throughout this all, if you've got any comments, we're really interested in hearing any and all feedback that you've got. So starting off with an aerial view of the site, I think it's important to just talk you through this drawing very quickly, just because we'll keep coming back to this drawing throughout the different options that we're going to look at. This is looking from an aerial view, looking from south to north. The sites, the buildings highlighted within the red boundary are the blocks that we're looking at. There are 9 blocks in total and 36 homes. Brynglas Court is just highlighted there. If you can just pick that out, is wrapping around the south, and Brynglas Drive is over to the east and the primary school to the northeast. The site in general is sort of sloping down, as you well know, looking towards Newport City Centre to the south. Next slide, please. So Newport City Homes have asked us to look at 3 options based on the information from the surveys that we've received. The first being take no action, the second being refurbishment, and the third being rebuild. But as Rachel highlighted, we don't think a rebuild option is appropriate on having looked at all the survey and the information that we've received so far. As I mentioned before, do let us know if you've got any comments, as that's what this session is all about. No decisions have been made at this stage, and we do want to try and incorporate as many of your comments as possible. So first of all, take no action. This is looking again at the aerial view we just saw. And I think Wesley's just going to ask for any feedback at this stage.
Yeah, thank you, Simon. So if anyone has any thoughts, or if you'd like to provide feedback, we'd really like to hear your views. There are 2 options in doing this. You can either use the raise your hand option if you wish to ask the project team a question directly or provide some feedback. You can also use the chat box. So if you've got any comments or feedback that you'd like to provide in regards to the take no action option, If you could place them into the chat box or raise your hand now, that would be great. And we'll give it a minute or so to see if anything filters through. John, is there anything on the raise your hand option at the moment?
I've had no residents digitally raise their hand at the moment. Unfortunately, at the moment, I can't see the video feeds if any of them are physically raising their hands. Just to let you know, if you wish to raise your hand, if you go into the reactions section, there is an option there to digitally raise a hand, and I'll be able to see it on my screen, but nothing as yet.
Okay, thanks for that, John. Clear or Sam, is there anything in the chat box that you would like to mention to the rest of the team, or are there any questions or feedback worth having a look at and mentioning?
Nothing on the option, Wes. Oh, sorry, Clear. Nothing on the option, Wes, but a host needs to give permission for a recording. So I don't know whether whoever's a host can action that for the recording to take place from the resident side. Bella, I'm guessing that still stands, yeah.
I'm the host, Sam. I haven't had a request come through though.
Yeah, no, Bella needs, she had a message to say she needs permission to record from the host.
Just to say at this stage, if we haven't figured it out, as we're recording it, and we will be posting it onto our website, it may be now that the best thing to do, since we've already started, is to make sure that that Bella is able to share the one that we post, because then you'll have the full recording, and it doesn't really matter or we record it recording, so you'll be able to share the one that we've got anyway.
Yeah. Rachel, like you said there, in regards to Bella and other residents, if we will be sharing contact information a little bit on through the presentation. So if you contact the email addresses or the contact numbers that we do share, we'll be able to arrange for a recording to be emailed to yourself so that you'll be able to get access for it then, okay? So yeah, that's that. At this stage, I think, Simon, we'll hand back over to yourself.
Thanks very much, Wes. I should just note, sorry, that this take no action option would involve sort of day-to-day repairs, as you'd imagine, making good existing buildings, possibly improving the existing roofs. But yeah, do bear that in mind as we sort of go through the rest of the options. And if you've got any feedback later on, I'm sure the team would love to hear it. If we could flick on to the next slide, please. So we've taken a look at your buildings, and this is a typical easy form of this type, looking at all four elevations. So in the top left there, we've got the street side elevation, with the two front doors up to the upstairs flats. And then on the right-hand side, we've got the side elevations, which are the entrances to the ground floor flats. And at the bottom, as you'd imagine, the fourth elevation looking into the garden, from the garden into the house. Useful to bear that in mind as we talk about possible ideas to renovate them. We could just go on to the next slide, please. So we've had some initial ideas of what might be possible with your homes, and I'll keep repeating myself, but do shout if you've got any feedback. So just running through from the top right there, as mentioned, we could look at re-roofing your homes, and that might be needed with some roofs being in poor repair currently. We could look at updating the external finishes of the flats. We could replace the windows and doors with high performance triple glazing to improve the thermal performance of your homes and create warmer spaces which don't leak as much heat. We could add solar panels for electricity production, and that would help with the net zero homes target of generating more electricity on site. We could add external insulation, and this one's very key for the energy targets. So we could wrap the whole of your outside of your building with a warm fleece, essentially, in the loft space and the external walls to keep in as much of the heat that you're generating, and stop that leaking out to the outside world. Next slide, please. And then looking in plan. So as you well know, your easy form homes are similar to semi-detached houses with flats at ground floor, 2 flats at ground floor and 2 flats at first floor. They're highlighted in blue and red for the purposes of this diagram. And then the next slide is some options that might be possible to look at, and would really like your feedback. But we could look at, if you're interested in reconfiguring the bathrooms to add a shower and a bath space and combine the toilet and the bath together, if that was something that you were looking at, that we were interested in, and that would create a bigger bathroom and a more generous space for you. Next slide, please. And then, so this is an environmental section, is what we'd call it. But this is looking at some of the existing issues with heat loss in the existing flats, and the arrows are representing heat transfers, so going from hot to cold. So you heat up your flats currently, and unfortunately, due to the construction type, there are parts of the building which leak that heat. So some of the heat goes through the windows, and we could look at replacing the windows. A lot of the heat unfortunately goes through the attic space, and we could look in putting a lot more insulation to keep that in. Due to the construction type, that blue arrow at the bottom is what we'd call a cold bridge. So cold energy from the outside is being transferred through conduction into the inside space, and that's cooling down the inside of the space. If we just flick onto the next slide then. So this is an idea of some solutions we could look at to renovate your home. And so as mentioned, the green line around the outside of the building there would be new insulation. So that would be in effect wrapping the outside of your building in a thick jumper to keep in that heat. We could look at adding photovoltaics or solar panels onto the roof to generate electricity. We could look at adding mechanical ventilation to remove some of the damp air, and that would hopefully benefit any mold creation on the inside of the flats, which we understand is an issue. And we could look at replacing the windows with better performing triple glazed windows potentially, or high performance windows in line with that new insulation on the outside of the building. Next slide, please. So then we're re-looking again at the plan, and highlighted in green there is what a potential arrangement for what the bathrooms could look like if we knock through that wall between the toilet and the bath that's currently there. We could add a shower into that space, so the look and the feel of that space would be altered. And then that green line, which hopefully you can pick out, is a bit hard to see on my screen anyway, which is wrapping around the outside of the building, is the new insulation and external finishes, which would be wrapping around the outside of the building. And that would mean that your flats would be updated and maybe look more modern and have a different look and feel from the outside. Next slide, please. So we're looking again here at the flats as they are, looking at the street side and the garden side. And if we just flick on, this is one potential option of what a refurbishment option could look like from the outside of the building. So then just picking out some of these ideas, we could re-roof the block potentially in a zinc roof, but we'd be open to listening to your feedback of what you would want on there. We could replace the gutters and downpipes. We could add new canopies above the doorways. We'd be looking potentially to replace the windows, so there's the chance to look at their locations and their arrangements to make them better relate to the spaces you've got inside your flats. And we could potentially add window boxes to the outsides of the flats that you could access from inside your flats and keep flowers. Next slide, please. So we're looking again here at the aerial view. So this is the same view, but we've sketched on what these options might look like. And you can pick out, hopefully, there's thin black lines of solar panels facing south. But as you can see, there's no drastic change to your community. It's sort of freshening up rather than any wholesale change. And I think that's reflecting what we've heard from yourselves in the first consultation session and the surveys that we've received so far about the quality of your homes. I'm just going to hand over to Wes now to again see if you've got any feedback.
Shall I just step in here? Sorry.
Yeah, so just going to hand over, Rach.
Yeah, sorry, Wes, thanks.
That's all right.
Just to talk through the impact that's there for residents and leaseholders in this option. So with the refurbishment option and the potential works that Simon's talked through, tenants. Because the majority of the works are to the externals of the building, we would try to make sure that residents could stay in their own homes was carried out, so that there would be some impact on you in terms of some disturbance of the work happening around you, but hopefully you'd be able to do that while still living in your homes. For leaseholders, the impact would depend on, again, the extent of the works that was carried out in this option. We normally include leaseholders in refurbishment works. Works it may be that you could opt into doing if you wanted to. For example, the windows might make down to you opting in or not as a leaseholder. Otherwise, if we were looking at external insulation or needing to do re-roofing, we would need to talk to you in more detail about that. I think that sort of covers it as a summary, but obviously if you've got more questions, Wes will take you through the next bit.
Great, thanks for that, Rach. So yeah, if you've got any thoughts or you'd like to ask a question, or provide any feedback in relation to the most recent slide of refurbishment, please feel free to use the chat box section where you'll be able to ask your questions, or you can raise a hand and we will unmute you to ask your question or provide your feedback directly to the team. John, has anyone raised their hand so far?
Yes, where's Tony Hatherall has raised his hand to ask a question, so I'm just going to ask him to unmute now.
Okay. Hi, Tony. Are you there?
Hi, how are you?
Hi there. Yeah, I'm very well, thank you. Welcome. If you'd like to ask, I'm sure the team would be very happy to answer it for you.
Thank you. Yeah, looking at what you've just shown us there for refurbishment, it's quite an extensive schedule. And for leaseholders, there's quite a bit of expense there that we can't all afford. I mean, we are pensioners. We don't have an income now, so it's going to be extremely difficult for us to fund something like that. So this is a main worry that we have.
Thanks for that, Tony. I don't know if Rachel or Prav want to add on to that or provide, you know, any more information, but you know, we'll most certainly take that feedback under consideration and look at it, you know, extend, you know, in depth before any form of decision is made. So yeah, I mean, Rachel, Prav, would you like to add on to that?
So Tony, just to give you some reassurance at this stage, really, because what we're doing at the moment is very early stages of looking at what works we might want to do to look after these homes going into the future. So for the time being, the best thing for us to do is to say thank you very much. We've heard what you said and your concerns, and we'll make sure that they are taken into account. If we were to look at this option, taking it forward, we would want to speak to people, to leaseholders individually, about your financial circumstances and your willingness or thoughts about the work that we take forward. So I think we'll just need to keep in touch with you about it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tony. John, has anyone else raised their hand?
No, there's been no other hands raised at this point.
Okay, thanks, John. Sam or Clear, has anyone raised any comments or feedback into the chat section?
Hi, Wes. Okay. Yeah, it's a similar comment to the one just raised. So it's a question by Bella, and would leaseholders have to pay for the works? So I assume it's going to be the same answer, but Rachel, do you want to just reiterate?
Yeah, thank you, Claire, and thank you for the question, Bella. So yeah, at the moment, we are not able to say specifically because it's going to depend on the extent of works that are carried out and the types of works. The position is generally with leaseholders and works like this is that some elements of works leaseholders can be eligible to pay and some aren't, as in NCH will meet some costs and some costs we'll need to speak to leaseholders about. But that's a bit later in the process that we would need to look at those details. And if we were to look at this option, we'd need to talk to all leaseholders in more detail about that.
Thanks a lot, Rachel. Clear, is there anything else in the chat section at this stage?
No, nothing else at this stage.
No.
Cheers, Wes.
Okay, thanks, Leah. Okay, so I'm now going to hand back over to Simon.
Hi again. So if we just flick on to the next slide then. We have also looked at a rebuild option on this site, but I think for the reasons we've gone through today, and as Rachel's explained, we don't think that this is an appropriate solution for the area based on the quality of the homes and the feel of the area, essentially. So we won't talk about this detail in as much detail, this option in as much detail, but if you do have any immediate thoughts on rebuild or any comments you have on this idea of a sketch, do drop them in the chat box or get in touch in the normal ways. That's it for us.
Thanks, Simon. So just adding on to what Simon said there, obviously we're still going to look for some feedback from residents and leaseholders in regards to our decision not to do the rebuild option in Brynglas. So if any of you would like to ask a question or provide feedback, or you have any other thoughts that you would like to share, please use the raise your hand option, or you can comment into the chat box. John, in regards to this section, has anyone raised their hand?
No, not at this stage. Sorry, Wes. No comments coming through from. Oh no, and as if by magic, Jill has raised her hand, so I'm going to ask her to unmute now.
Hi, Jill. Are you there?
Hi. Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Welcome.
Thank you.
If you'd like to ask your question.
Having listened to both options that you've given, what sort of time scale are you looking at once it's approved? Because there's work going on here at the moment with the houses. Is it the same sort of timeline of about 6 months, or would it be longer because there's more properties? And when would the work be likely to start if it's approved?
That's a very good question, Jill. Thank you very much for that. Pravin or Rachel, if you want to answer Jill's question.
Yeah, thank you, Wes. So I'll take that one. So thank you for asking the question, Jill. It's likely that it would be a longer timescale if any works were approved to go ahead. And I say that because actually I may as well sort of say it now, otherwise I'm going to repeat myself. So we're going to talk about next steps. So there's been no decisions that have been made at this point. What happens next is that we want your feedback from this session, from the newsletter, from the online survey that we're doing. They will form part of the report that we are getting together. Which is going to bring together all of our work on these options. It's going to be considered by our board in July, and they will give us some direction in terms of the options that we're looking to take forward, and then we'll be able to communicate that with you. Now, if an option is at the refurbishment option, there will be quite a lot of processes that are involved around that, and particularly, for example, the consultation and talking to leaseholders about the types of work that we're going to be doing. So I think it will be longer than the timescales that you have suggested, just because of those two factors, really.
Thanks very much for answering that, Rachel, and thanks for your question as well, Jill. I'm sure that answer has obviously probably helped other people with that are attending as well. Which yeah. So Clear, is there anything in the chat section at this stage?
No, nothing been raised in the chat at the moment. Cheers.
No problem. Thanks for that, Clear. Okay, then I'm going to hand back over to Rachel, who will talk you through the next steps.
So that's the bit that I've already just done. Jill's question, I did that all wrapped up into one. So we've got the slide on the screen there as well. So that should have covered up our next steps. So it's back with you, Wes.
Okay, thanks, Rachel. So just a few, we got, we're ahead of schedule at this stage, so we're just going to have a look at the chat box again. If any of you guys and girls, please, put all your feedback and your comments into the chat section. And, we really want to listen to you and hear your views and take everything, you know, under consideration before making any kind of decision in regards to works within your area. So I'd really encourage you, if you can comment into the chat section or raise your hand. We'd really appreciate that. John, have we got anyone in the raise your hand section at this stage?
Yeah, Angela Haley has got a question, so I'm just going to ask her to. Oh no, she's not. There we go. Angela, if you'd like to ask your question.
Thank you. Could you let me know or inform me whether any plans to provide electric sockets, thinking about driving in the future? Obviously, there's an onus to for the population to be thinking about cleaner energy and electric cars. So I'm just wondering, in the planning stage now, are there any plans to consider providing electric points?
A very good question.
I think the answer is, if we were looking at a new build option, it's the sort of thing that we'd automatically now do in all of our plans. And you sort of foxed us really, because I think for a refurbishment option, it hasn't been something that we've looked at, but it's really, really interesting feedback, and I think should go on our list of things that we should be thinking about. So yeah, thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Clear, is anything popped up in the chat section at this stage?
No, nothing's coming through on the chat function at the moment. So yeah, if you do have any questions, just post it in there and I'll raise them then, if you don't want to speak.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Where's Angela's got a follow-up question? I'm just going to ask her to
no
unmute
problem.
again.
That is absolutely fine. Welcome back, Angela.
She just needs to unmute again. Sorry.
No problem. There.
Angela, could you unmute yourself? Can't do it for you, I'm afraid.
Okay. All right. John, is there a problem with the?
I'm not able to unmute Angela.
No.
I can invite her to unmute, which I have.
Okay.
Oh, there you go. There we go. All done.
Sorry.
That's okay,
Hi,
Angela.
Hi, Angela. All right. Welcome back.
Yeah, well, I'm just wondering about the comment that was made earlier about some individuals having a limited income. Does that mean to say perhaps that those people who are in a position to contribute would be expected to?
As I've said, it's too early for us to say. It will depend on the type of work that's done, and if we go down the road of looking further at that option, we will need to talk to leaseholders about the work that we're doing and what work we would be asking payment for, and what might be done by Newport City Homes. At the moment, we just can't say, and so we would want to be fair to people. But we'll need to talk to you in more detail as that option, should it be taken forward.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rachel. So like I said, you know, if you can ask any questions into the chat box or raise your hand at any point, and we'll try and answer the questions as best as we can. We're always looking for your feedback, and we're always willing to listen and to take your views and opinions on board. As I said as well, we'll be sharing contact information shortly too. So if you think of a question further on down the line, you'll have a contact that you'll be able to contact directly, and hopefully we can answer your questions that way. Okay, so we're coming to the end of today's session. So just some final information for you just before we finish. We really hope that you found this session helpful to understand the work that we are carrying out. And thank you for taking the time to give us your feedback on your home and your local area. As we discussed earlier, we will share this information with the Newport City Homes Board when they consider how we should proceed with works in your area. The recording of today's session will be available on our website in the next few days, and if you'll be able to go back and listen again, and you should also receive a copy by email shortly. In the meantime, if you'd like to get in touch with us, please use the contact details that are listed on your leaflet and also listed on screen now. I'll just go through that contact information for you. So firstly, it's Wesley Ford, who is myself, a Community Services Officer at Newport City Homes, and my contact number is 016 633 227 614. Secondly, Kelsey Cantello, who is also a Community Services Officer at Newport City Homes. She can be contacted directly on telephone number 01633 227 637. Alternatively, you'll also be able to contact us by email at lowercase community@newportcityhomes.com. That's community@newportcityhomes.com. This could be if you have an individual repair that you'd like to discuss, or if you'd like to talk about anything that you've heard today or ask any further questions. As I said previously, you can get in touch with us alternatively by email, and one of the project team will get back to you as soon as possible. Just before we finish, we'd like to understand if this session has been useful for you, and if you'd like to attend online sessions in the future. You'll see 2 questions on your screen shortly. Please select one of the options to answer it. Okay, so we'll give it just a few more seconds or so to get your answers in there. Please vote if you can. Every bit of feedback to us is very useful, including the thoughts of these online sessions that we're doing. Okay. Give it a few more seconds there for you. All right. Okay, I think that's okay for us now. John? Okay, brilliant. Okay, so that's it from us from this session. Thank you very much again for giving up your time to join us. We really appreciate all of your feedback. And like I said, if at any stage you've got any questions or any feedback, please contact us using the contact details that we've shared. And we'll hopefully see you all soon. And take care and stay safe.